The way I see it, if you want the rainbow, you gotta put up with the rain. Pardon, Dolly. Happiness is like jam. You can't spread even a little without getting some on yourself. Anonymous. Only when one is connected to one's inner core is one connected to others. And for me, the core, the inner spring, can best be found through solitude. Lindbergh and Morrow. People deal too much with the negative. What is wrong? Why not try and see positive things, to just touch those things and make them bloom? Han, Thich Nhat. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. Gibran Khalil. Oftentimes in denying yourself pleasure you do but store the desire in the recesses of your being. Gibran Khalil. Happiness is not a station you arrive at, but a matter of traveling. Runbeck Margaret. The foolish man seeks happiness in the distance, the wise man grows it under his feet. Oppenhelm. James, your body is precious, it is our vehicle for awakening. Treat it with care. Buddha. Laughter is the shortest distance between two people. Borge Victor. To see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Blake William. Happiness sneaks through a door you didn't know that you left open. Barrymore. John, the best remedy for anger is delay. Young, Brigham. Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by doubling our joys and dividing our grief. Addison Joseph. Cheerfulness keeps up a kind of daylight in the mind and fills it with a steady and perpetual serenity. Addison Joseph. Remember this, very little is needed to make a happy life. Aurelius Marcus. Think highly of yourself because the world takes you at your own estimate. Anonymous. Peace comes from within, do not seek it without. Buddha. Anger blows out the lamp of the mind. Ingersoll Robert. Home is not where you live but where they understand you. Morgenstern. Christian happiness is the harvest of a quiet eye. O'Malley Austin. If it's sanity you are after, there is no recipe like laughter. Eliot. Henry. Flowers feed the soul. Mohammed. The human race has one really effective weapon, and that is laughter. Twain. Mark. The really happy person is the one who can enjoy the scenery while on a detour. Anonymous. Until he extends his circle of compassion to include all living things, man will not himself find peace. Schweitzer. Albert. Life is too important to take seriously. Wilde. Oscar. There is only one blasphemy, and that is the refusal to experience joy. Rudnick. Paul. Comedy is tragedy plus time. Burnett. Carroll. Drag your thoughts away from your troubles, by the ears, by the heels, or any other way you can manage it. Twain. Mark. The greatest compliment that was ever paid me was when someone asked me what I thought and attended to my answer. Thoreau. Henry David. Most folks are about as happy as they make their minds up to be. Lincoln. Abraham. There are moments on most days when I feel a deep and sincere gratitude. When I sit at the open window and there is a blue sky or moving clouds. Collowitz. Cave. I was never less alone than while by myself. Gibson. Edward. May you live all the days of your life. Swift. Jonathan. The happy man is not he who seems thus to others, but who seems thus to himself. Publilius Cyrus. If all our happiness is bound up entirely in our personal circumstances, it is difficult not to demand of life more than it has to give. Bertrand Russell. Man needs, for his happiness, not only the enjoyment of this or that, but hope and enterprise and change. Bertrand Russell. A string of excited, fugitive, miscellaneous pleasures is not happiness. Happiness resides in imaginative reflection and judgment when the picture of one's life, or of human life as it truly has been or is, satisfies the will and is gladly accepted. George Santayana. One is never more on trial than in the moment of excessive good fortune. Lew Wallace. And from the discontent of one man the world's best progress springs. Ella Wheeler Wilcox. My riches consist not in the extent of my possessions, but in the fewness of my wants. J. Brotherton. Health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, faithfulness the best relationship. Buddha. One cannot collect all the beautiful shells on the beach. Anne Morrow. Lindbergh. Beauty more than bitterness makes the heart break. Sarah Teasdale. It is not easy to find happiness in ourselves, and it is not possible to find it elsewhere. Agnes Replier. Every man has a rainy corner of his life whence comes foul weather which follows him. Jean Paul Richter. Humor is, I think, the subtlest and chanciest of literary forms. It is surely not accidental that there are 1,000 novelists, essayists, poets, or journalists for each humorist. It is a long time between James Thurber's Leo Rossin. We are never so happy or unhappy as we think, François Duc La Rochefoucauld. Not all those who know their minds know their hearts as well, François Duc La Rochefoucauld. Humor is the affectionate communication of insight. Leo Rossin. When you look up at the sky, you have a feeling of unity, which delights you and makes you giddy. Hodler, Ferdinand. Make the most of yourself, that is all there is to you. Emerson, Ralph Waldo. If you take care of the small things, the big things take care of themselves. You can gain more control over your life by paying closer attention to the little things. Dickinson, Emily. How we spend our days is of course how we spend our lives. Dillard. And the greater part of happiness or misery depends on our dispositions, not our circumstances. Marco Washington. Life is not a matter of milestones, but of moments. Rose Kennedy. To be at peace with ourselves, we need to know ourselves. Matthews. Caitlin. Adopt the pace of nature. Emerson, Ralph Waldo. If there is to be any peace, it will come through being, not having. Miller, Henry. A smile is curve that sets everything straight. Anonymous. You can't change the past, and you can ruin a perfectly good present by worrying about the future. Anonymous. The future you shall know when it has come. Before then, forget it. Aeschylus. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Anonymous. 3 grand essentials to happiness in this life are something to do, something to love, and something to hope for. Addison. If the only prayer you said in your whole life was, "Thank you," that would suffice. Meister Eckhart. Different men seek after happiness in different ways and by different means, and so make for themselves different modes of life and forms of government. Aristotle. If you never did, you should. These things are fun, and fun is good. Dr. Seuss. You can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. Plato. Happiness depends upon ourselves. Aristotle. I have sometimes been wildly, despairingly, acutely miserable. But through it all I still know quite certainly that just to be alive is a grand thing. Agatha Christie. As long as you live, keep learning how to live. Seneca. Find ecstasy in life. The mere sense of living is joy enough. Emily Dickinson. All of the animals except man know that the principal business of life is to enjoy it. Anonymous. We all live with the objective of being happy. Our lives are all different and yet the same. Anne Frank. The purpose of our lives is to be happy. The 14th Dalai Lama. If you can spend a perfectly useless afternoon in a perfectly useless manner, you have learned how to live. Lin Yutang. Ambition is a poor excuse for not having enough sense to be lazy. Charlie McCarthy. Punctuality is the thief of time. Oscar Wilde. How beautiful it is to do nothing, and then rest afterward. Spanish proverb. Sit quietly, doing nothing. Spring comes, and the grass grows by itself. Sensei. One of the lessons of history is that nothing is often a good thing to do, and always a clever thing to say will durant. The good and the wise lead quiet lives. Euripides. Patience is the key to paradise. Turkish proverb. The highest happiness of man is to have probed what is knowable and quietly to revere what is unknowable. Go. The feeling remains that God is on the journey too. Teresa of Avila. Who says the eternal being does not exist? Who says the sun has gone out? Someone who climbs up on the roof and closes his eyes tight and says, "I don't see anything." Rumi.